We're talking Aztecs. So let's get the best source.
Key to our success, though, is the defense and the rebounding.
This is the Brian Dutcher Show. Get the latest info about the Scarlet and Black as we talk to the man at the top.
We got to have an 8, 9, 10-man rotation because it's a hard conference.
The Brian Dutcher Show is sponsored by ShopAztecs.com. ShopAztecs.com is your official store for team apparel. Visit ShopAztecs.com for the latest Sdsu gear. And Kaiser Permanente for all that is San Diego for all that is you. Now, it's the Brian Dutcher Show.
All right, the Brian Dutcher Show, San Diego Sports 760, Aztecs, UNLV, Saturday at 5 p.m. San Diego State wrapping up a 2-game homestand Saturday. Hope to see you out there. Let's actually start here, Dutch. We always appreciate the time. The bobblehead. Like, we can't bury the lead. I know you have a basketball game to get ready for. Take us behind the scenes here. Like, how does this come about? Or are you looking forward to being, like, enshrined as a bobblehead moving forward?
Well, you know, it's my proudest moment, John, to have a bobblehead. So I don't know how it came about. I think Matt Soria probably had something to do with it. I don't know if they wanted to pick a player or they just said, well, let's make Dutcher the bobblehead. So people can throw me against the wall when we don't play well. They can tap me on the head, and they can take their anger out on me when the Aztecs aren't playing up to par.
Well, all fans Saturday in attendance will get a Brian Dutcher bobblehead. If tickets are available, they'd be at goaztecs.com. Get there early, be loud. Obviously, the crowd makes such a difference for San Diego State. So, Dutch, we appreciate you hopping on. If you have a question, by the way, some have rolled in, 70470. Start it with the word team. As you turn the page and look ahead to UNLV, what are the primary takeaways about the way your team responded against Colorado State Tuesday?
Yeah, we bounced back, and that's what you have to do. You know, we bounced back after a tough loss, came home and played pretty good and better offensively, really good defensively. And again, you know, we forced 20 turnovers. We had 10 offensive rebounds, and that's a more like winning formula for us. So the better we are on the offensive glass, the better chance we have to win.
You've watched Miles Byrd for 3 years, continue to improve and develop. What has he done in terms of this leap between last year and this year that's allowing him to have this type of success?
Just confidence and having fun out there. I mean, I think anybody that would watch a game when Byrd makes a basket or makes a play to see the smile on his face, to see the joy he plays with. And that's contagious, and that's a good way to play. Don't play stressful, play with joy, and that's what Miles is doing.
No doubt about it. Again, a career-high 25 points. Were you surprised when you saw the box score at the end of the night? 7 steals. I mean, you've been coaching a long time. That's a big number.
Yeah, well, Miles, he gets in that passing lane with his length, and he reads plays, he jumps plays, and when he gets it, it's a great thing. When he misses it, we're at a disadvantage. But Miles has proved dangerous at the defensive end, and I think people are aware you just can't throw a casual pass out there with him on the floor. 2
more threes for B.J. Davis. I mean, he's an explosive offensive player. He had that personal 11-0 run against Air Force maybe a week or so back. It was 3 of 9 overall from the floor, but 12 points, a couple of made threes. What's your thoughts on the way B.J. is kind of navigating his sophomore year?
Yeah, I like the way B.J.'s playing. I want him aggressive, but obviously Byrd gets a lot of the plays called for him, and B.J. at times is the secondary option. And you know, that's sometimes the fate of a sophomore compared to a third-year guy in the program. But I have all the confidence in B.J. in the world and want him to continue to be aggressive offensively.
Miles said something interesting to me post-game on Tuesday. Miles Byrd, he said, when I asked him about Taj DeGorville, he said, I've never played with a passer like Taj. He's just a gifted passer, his vision. Can you speak to what you saw in the recruiting process and how this has played out for him throughout the first half of his freshman year?
Yeah, Taj has the ability to throw guys open. He can lead them into a basket. And so he's done a nice job of seeing the floor, playing off ball screens, finding the open man. And he just got to adjust to the physicality of the game. You know, at New Mexico, it got real physical, and he had a few turnovers. You know, in high school, those are probably fouls. But up at this level, it's play on, and you have to play with the physicality and still make the plays he's making. He's a gifted passer.
Couple of questions coming in, Dutch, off our text line. 70470 started with the word team. This came in from 858 before the show, said, ask Coach Dutch if Farrow is a better free throw shooter than his stats show. His form looks good, so is it focused? That's the question off the text line.
It's got to be confidence. You know, it's like that second baseman that can't throw it from second to first
Right.
sometimes. He gets the yips, and you look at it, it's not just Farrell. Falsleff, who's one of the best players in our conference at Utah State, he's on like a 6 for 20-some free throw stretch, 20-some%. And so it can happen. You can go through it. And so the only way to play your way out of it is to get in the gym, work with a coach, get your routine where you believe in it, and then step up there with confidence. Believe everyone's going in. If you believe they're not going in, they won't. And so Farrell's been in the gym shooting them, and I've got all the confidence in the world he will start to make them.
I mean, he's making such an impact, Dutch. It's really impressive to see his physicality shine so early in his career. Like, it's one thing to say, he's big and physical, but he's coming into his true freshman year. He's had so much success for you from like 5 feet and in. It's been really impressive. I mean, he's made it look easy, but he's really had success using his physicality, right?
Oh, yeah, he's a very good freshman. He's not afraid to throw his body around in there. And, he's still learning how to play, John. He's sometimes not in the right place at the right time, but it's never a lack of effort, never a lack of energy. And as he grows with his knowledge of the game, with playing the college game more, he'll just continue to get better.
This was off the text line as well, 70470. Start it with the word team if you have a question. 858 asking, has Coach Dutcher kept track on UC San Diego's progress? What does he think of how they've done this season? Obviously, you opened with the Tritons. You beat them at Viejas Arena, and they've been among the better stories in the Big West.
Oh, they've had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
They had the only win over Utah State until they lost at UNLV the last game. They had a tough loss at home to Irvine, who they were fighting with for the conference. Irvine boxed and won UCSD's best player, Magai, and
Right.
Took him out of the game, and that was a big factor. So I'm sure Eric Olin will go to work, and the next time they play each other, he'll have a strategy to go against it. But both Irvine and UCSD are having fantastic years.
There's a general question on the text line about just kind of moving ahead with realignment from the 619 that asks about, will you continue to play series with programs that aren't transitioning from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, like a New Mexico or whomever else will remain in the Mountain West when San Diego State moves to the Pac-12?
Yeah, obviously those Mountain West teams will be attractive, and probably the most attractive to us would probably be a UNLV because it's non-altitude. It's a rivalry type of a game, and it's close. We've obviously had great success in Vegas, so I'd be interested in continuing a home and home with UNLV. Albuquerque at altitude is always a tough place to play. I don't know if that will serve us well or not, but we will look at all the Mountain West teams that aren't coming to the Pac-12 as potential future opponents.
Which, of course, is a long way off as you get ready for UNLV on Saturday. And then, of course, there's a whole other season for San Diego State in the Mountain West as well. When you look at UNLV, Dutch, and I was watching last night, really impressive. They came back from 7 down maybe in the last 4 or 5 minutes. They've been outstanding at home this year. We know about their point guard. He's been a terrific player the last 2 years. What impresses you when you turn on the film, and maybe specifically with what they did last night against Utah State?
They can score that basketball. They've got guys that if you don't find them, whether it's Rich Rain or some of the others, they're capable of hitting 2 or 3 threes against you. And then Bear Cherry is strong in the post. He's got a great right-hand jump hook. And then obviously Deion Thomas. We played him 3 times last year, and he averaged 20 points a game on us. So we know what he is, and he didn't have a particularly great game. He was 1 for 12 going in the last couple minutes, but you know with the game on the line,
Yep.
He's going to make the plays, and he hit 2 huge baskets to give UNLV a chance to win that game, which they did.
When you think about the series over the years, I mean, there's been so many. I mean, it's just so many great moments. Like you said, a year ago, the 3 games. I even go back, was it the Mountain West quarterfinals last year, Dutch? That was an incredible game, right?
Yeah, overtime game. We had a lead. They came back and went OT, and Deion missed a shot to win the game, basically, and we rebounded it. And so we had great games with the Rebels last year, and Coach Kruger's done a great job. He's got a new team. He's only got really 1 starter back from a year ago. The Boone brothers are gone. Garcia's gone. Rodriguez is gone. And he's got all new players, and it's taken a while to get it together, but they're starting to hit stride like they did a year ago when they made an incredible run in this conference. So he's got a nice team that's starting to round themselves out a little bit.
You've talked about this repeatedly. I've asked you about it, but the importance of holding serve at home, when you know how hard it is on the road, some of these environments, the challenges, the turnarounds, the elevation, everything that goes into it, that makes it even more important, right? When you have opportunities at home like you do on Saturday.
Yeah, you got to find a way to win your home games. And you see what it is on the road with San Jose beating New Mexico and Vegas beating Utah State. Two undefeated teams in the conference both fell on the road. It's hard on the road, and it has to continue to be. We have to make it hard on UNLV, and that happens with playing as hard as we can, as long as we can. That happens with having a full Viejas arena with our crowd behind us, and those are things that help you win at home.
You know, a year ago, as you know, I mean, it's a banner year for the league overall. 6 teams in the NCAA tournament. All the metrics were great. I look at it a year later, Dutch, and this conference is having a really good year from like a metric and resume perspective with obviously your program, but Utah State, Boise State's turned it on. New Mexico, even with the San Jose State game, has had a very good season. Nevada, the metrics are good. Colorado State, UNLV. How do you compare where the league is right now to maybe where it was a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, the league's having a good year. You know, I wish we would have stole a few more non-conference games of the league. You know, if that happens, then we're even more in the conversation. But we have a league that's worthy of 2, 3, or 4 bids, in my opinion. I don't think we'll get 6, but I think we have a chance to be a multiple bid league again this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, much more with Dutch on the other side. We'll take a 2-minute timeout. If you have questions for Brian Dutcher, head coach of the Aztecs, getting ready for UNLV, just text us, 70470.
Visit us at townandcountry.com or give us a call today. Town & Country Event Rentals, where your perfect event begins.
It's the Brian Dutcher Show on the home of San Diego State, San Diego Sports 760.
All right, another handful of minutes with the head coach of the Aztecs getting ready for UNLV on Saturday at 5 p.m. Pre-game coverage will begin at 4. If tickets are available, they'd be at goaztecs.com. Get there early, be loud. Critical conference game for the Aztecs, hosting UNLV. Dutch, every time we do one of these shows, someone always asks off the text line about Reese Waters. He'll have another scan, right, moving forward, and then a determination may be made based on what comes out of that?
Yeah, he has a scan, I think, on the 20th, and then he'll have a decision to make. Even if it's healed, you know, it's going to take a couple, 2, 3 weeks to get back into game shape. You know, is it something where he feels like he's going to finish up college and will take whatever he gets, or is it a decision where he'll say, I think I don't want to waste a full year for a partial year and come back a year from now. Mm-hmm. And those are things we'll have to look at with him when we get the results. But without the results, it's not even worth talking about. Right. So it'll be a decision that Reese and I will sit down and talk about when the time's right.
It's been fun to watch him like interact on your bench, you know, just from afar, just to see how engaged he is. Like, is he serving kind of like a mentorship coach role here over the last few weeks or months?
Yeah, no question, especially to the freshmen. He spends a lot of time with Taj and Farrow and, you know, talking to them about what it's like to play at this level, how hard it is, how much prep it takes, and Reese has been a real good voice mentoring the young guys.
What do you think, speaking of the freshmen, we talk about Taj and Farrow, and obviously Magoon is in a similar camp because he hadn't played college basketball. Yes, he had redshirted for a year, but he hadn't played in a true game. As you watch him continue to progress, what's he doing now more of that maybe he wasn't doing 2 or 3 months ago?
I thought, you know, Magoon played in one of his best games as an Aztec just because of his involvement with everything. Mm-hmm. The way he played help defense, the way he scored when he had an opportunity, rebounded the ball. He just was more engaged for a longer period of time. And that's what freshmen have to get. Freshmen are always good in spurts. It's whether you can count on them for the long run. And I thought Magoon made a step forward, playing harder, longer, smarter in our game against Colorado State.
619 had a text here, Dutch, 70470 started with team. He says, ask Dutch about the shot clock violation rule. He says it's a board to penalize the defensive team and stop a potential fast break when they have possession of the ball. He says it happened to Sdsu a few times against Air Force. What do you think about that? So you get the stop, you end up with the ball. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just think if it doesn't hit the rim and they're a little anxious as to if you have possession or not, you know, they're going to blow that dead most of the time, you know, instead of running a risk of having it deflected and someone else pick it up and they don't blow it dead. So I don't have a problem. You know, obviously sometimes there's a long rebound that you have in your hands and you're ready to run. But I think they do a pretty good job with that call for the most part.
Thoughts on the way that block charge is being officiated right now? Because I know there's been a couple of these, and you always talk about it. It's a hard call. It's really hard in real time. There's been a few of these that have kind of gone against you over the course of the last couple of weeks. I think to Utah State, there were 2 or 3 of them against Colorado
I'll go a
State.
step further, John.
Yeah.
I think every one of them's gone against us.
Yeah, right?
You know, whether it was a couple games ago at home where Bird took one, he took 2.
Right.
Both of them were blocks. Last game, he had a guy bang him in the post. He fell down. That was a block or a no call. Wayne had one where he was waiting for a guy to come and took it. And then the only one that they took on Magoon was a charge.
Right.
So I let him know I said, I know it's a hard call, but they can't all go against us.
You've been talking about also like your guards getting downhill don't seemingly get the same amount of respect from officiating than maybe opponent guards. Has that kind of changed the philosophy of some of the play from the penetration from your guards because they're just not getting those calls?
Yeah, you have to be a big physical guard to get to the basket and score over these bigs. And, you know, some of our guards aren't real physical. They're very quick, and they're good players, but they can't run in there and just launch themselves into big guys and hope for a foul. They got to play to 2 feet and shot fake. They got to spray the ball out because we've seen it. I've told them, you may be getting fouled, but they're not going to give you that call. They're not giving many people that call. If the bigs jump into you with their arms back, even though they're jumping into you, that's a call that the refs are not making for anybody around the country.
And it seems like they kind of heeded that advice this past week against Colorado State, right? It felt like there was more deliberate attempt that if you're going to get downhill there, you got to be able to score as opposed to rely on the contact.
Yeah, I thought Nick did a better job of playing to 2 feet. He got them off their feet one time on a shot fake and got to the foul line. He drove in there and sprayed it out. So I think Nick did a better job of driving in and playing on 2 feet instead of just launching in for the shot.
No doubt. 858 says, hi, John and Coach. It's Aztec Gary listening from Vietnam. How about that, Dutch? We got listeners
I
live.
love it.
How cool is that? He says, it seems like Miles Heidi's grip strength has increased from last year to this year. Last year, it seemed like potential rebounds could be swatted out of his hands before securing the ball. And they says, don't worry, the students and I will be back in San Diego before tip time on Saturday. What have you seen from Miles as he goes from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, he's made a big jump. Size, strength, knowing the physicality of the college game. And, you know, he missed the Air Force game because he had the flu, and then he came back for New Mexico, and I didn't think he was really ready to play. I put him in there, and I instantly knew he was struggling.
Yeah.
And so it was good to see him come back against Colorado State and be impactful in the game, and hopefully that will continue moving forward as he's gotten back into good health.
Dutch, I wanted to read this to you because it's from one of our texters who asked that I read it on air, 619. His name is Josh. He says, I just wanted to say Coach Dutcher is an amazing human being. Recently, my family went through a very tough time, and he was there for us all the way up to my dad, a combat veteran and huge Aztec fan, passing away this week. I was hoping to publicly thank him on air. Josh, thank you, and thank you to your father for his service. But, Dutch, I wanted to read that to you from one of our listeners.
I appreciate it, and I love Josh and his family. I got to spend some time with his dad over the last couple of months, and what a great human being and a class act. And I know it was probably good for him to have me there, but it was good for me to be there. So it was tough to lose him, and my thoughts and prayers are with Josh and his family.
We get so consumed with the sport. We love it. I mean, it's a passion for you. It's your job. We play all these games. And, you know, coming up Saturday, we have the bobblehead and we have Aztecs UNLV. It's also the ALS awareness game is Saturday at VA House Arena. That's something that's been near and dear to you and Coach Fisher, and obviously with Mark battling ALS. I mean, this is a big thing for San Diego State basketball. Yeah,
we always get caught up in sports and the games, but as far as life goes, it's a very small part of life. What people deal with, passing a family, suffering with ALS, those are real world problems. Losing a basketball game obviously is heartbreaking because we pour so much into it. But in terms of the wildfires and all the people that are dealing with, hopefully it's more of an escape for people to spend some time supporting their local team, knowing that we play our hearts out for you and try to win. But sometimes there are things in life more important than a win or a loss.
Really well said. Dutch, before you go, you touched on it, UNLV's scoring ability. What will it take from your team on Saturday? What do you hope to see as you look to finish off, hopefully, a 2-0 homestand?
We got to be tough. They came out, they got beat twice on the road by 20 and got tough-minded and got physical and got aggressive. And so we have to match that physicality, we have to match that aggressiveness, and we have to play a really good game at home to get a win on Saturday.
Dutch, always appreciate it. We will see you and your bobblehead Saturday at 5 p.m. at Viejas Arena. Thanks, as always, for taking time for us.
Appreciate it, John.
Appreciate it. Brian Dutcher here, getting his team ready for UNLV. And again, tickets at goaztecs.com. Great perspective. He always provides it for us here on the Brian Dutcher Show. We're going to do it week in and week out from now until the Mountain West tournament. And then hopefully on the other side of that, against Selection Sunday. Again, you get so caught up in it, and it means so much to so many people. And then you see what's going on. Like you said, the wildfires. We have this ALS awareness game. And yeah, I mean, it is a great thing to take your mind off sometimes other things. And that's why sports are so great. And Aztec basketball, the way people rally around it. I'm telling you this, like Dutch just said, Saturday is a huge game. It is a huge game. It's got to be a great atmosphere, and it will be. Saturday at 5 is perfect. It's UNLV, a longtime rival, right? A series that's been played for forever. They've gone back and forth for decades in this series. The Aztecs have had the upper hand here recently, but there's been some thrillers. Last year in the Mountain West quarterfinal. Last year, Didon Thomas beat the Aztecs at the Thomas and Mack in the regular season. There was UNLV when they came into Viejas Arena when the Aztecs were 26-0 in 2020. And that UNLV team stunned San Diego State that night. We remember it. I remember that night vividly. So it's a big game. And yes, UNLV, like Dutch just said, they had lost a couple of games on the road, kind of convincing losses, blowout losses. And then they rebound and they played really well. So they're riding the high of beating Utah State at home. Like that, you know they're coming off a high. You know they're going to be ready and motivated because they just picked up their biggest win of the season, and they did it in really good fashion. Overcame a 7-point deficit late, got Didon Thomas to the basket a couple times in the final 2 minutes, and picked up their most impressive conference win of the year, and they're very much in the conference race, and we'll talk about that over the final 30 or so minutes of the show. But they're 4-2 in the Mountain West. San Diego State is 4-2 in the Mountain West. So it's a big game from a conference standing perspective, and all these games are big for San Diego State's resume because the Aztecs have put themselves in a conversation for an at-large bid because they've played so well out of conference and because they've gotten off to a good start in the league, and they've got that Boise road win. So it's an important game. We hope to see you out there. Pre-game coverage will begin at 4 p.m. outside Viejas Arena. I'll have that for you. And then tip-off right around 5 p.m. Brian Dutcher bobblehead game. How cool is that? Tickets at goaztecs.com if they are available. And again, that's coming up Saturday at 5 p.m.